Here.
Hello and welcome to another Breakfast in Blockchain. Today we're with the Helios team, Gabriel and Chris, and we have a special guest. It's CryptoDunker. So CryptoDunker, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Blockchain.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it should be fun. So just for anyone watching, anything that we discuss today is not financial advice. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will answer them. We'll pull them up on screen and we'll cover any topics that you're interested in. So yeah, Crypto. I called you Crypto. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you Mr. I did.
Let's just go with. You can call me Crypto for this live stream.
Right, brilliant. Okay. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself? How you got started?
Absolutely. So, I've been doing EOS YouTube videos since the mainnet launch. I can't believe it's been 4 years already. God, crazy how time just flies. And I initially got into crypto just because, from the time I was a little kid, I've always kind of been a little rebellious, you could say. And just the idea, it wasn't so much, people say this in the crypto space all the time, but for me, it's actually true. I was definitely partially in it because I saw the huge investment opportunity for sure. But more than that, I was just really intrigued with how, governments and authoritarian figures, especially in today's day and age when things are getting, just more draconian day by day. I was just intrigued by the idea of not needing anybody's permission and, completely owning your own currency because, if you have your money in a bank, technically you don't own it, as unfortunately a lot of people in third world country dictatorships have found out the hard way. So that idea, just the principle of it, was what initially drew me to it. Started making videos about general crypto content, and I kind of never expected my channel to be where it is today. But it was just a thing where I was so obsessed with crypto in the beginning that my friends and family were sick of hearing me talking about it all the time. But I had to talk about it somewhere, I needed that outlet somewhere. And so I just made a channel to sort of think out loud all the thoughts I had about crypto, basically. Started out making general crypto videos, and then I made a couple EOS videos that really stuck and really hit. And to this day, I just kind of stuck with that, regardless of how you feel about EOS. I think at this point we can all agree it's far from perfect, but there's a strong sense of community here, which I really like. We got people who are really passionate about the space and, people who are really dedicated. So yeah, that's what's kept me around the EOS community all this time and, ongoing to this day.
Yeah, you've been pretty consistent really in terms of you've been following EOS, like you say, since the beginning. You were one of the first influencers that I'm aware of that was really pushing EOS from the start. And you're still here. You're still doing content for EOS. So that's something to be said, because a lot of other ones have kind of come and gone who are kind of promoting EOS, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So you're doing some TA. I noticed a lot of your videos, you touch on technical analysis, and you're starting a new focused on EOS.io technical analysis series. Can you kind of what got you into reading charts, and what's your sort of background there? Are you sort of self-taught because of your interest, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, no, I never went to college and got a degree on how to learn charts or anything like that. It was just me watching a bunch of, in the beginning days, what it's like when you first buy your $100 of $100 of crypto. You're always checking the charts and checking your portfolio every 5 seconds to see, if you made an extra $5 or whatever. So, it started with that. And then I kind of was like, okay, I can see the chart and I know there's lines and candles, but I want to know what these things mean. So it was actually, you guys probably know, he's quite a, a well-known crypto YouTuber. Watching a lot of Data Dash's videos was what really taught me how to, and as well as Crypto Jeb and The Moon, really popular crypto YouTubers. And it was just easy for me to kind of pick up on it because I was passionate about it from the beginning. And I always, I'm strictly of the opinion that it's always easier to learn something if you're actually interested in it. And especially since like your own money's at stake there. So yeah, just watching those guys, and those guys cover TA. You gradually pick up on the concepts. You gradually pick up on what certain indicators and certain things mean. And it's never a guarantee of anything, but like but it gives you like some sort of framework to work around.
Yeah.
When's the second video coming out?
We can do it now, honestly. I'm ready anytime. But I think Chris and I discussed, and I think we decided for now, like, it's best to start doing something like twice a week, for the simple fact that not twice a week, sorry, like
Every 2
twice a
weeks.
month. Yeah, every 2 weeks. Yeah, for the simple fact that just that gives a good amount of time for the market to change, and for there to be new information. Sometimes like the guys who try to do TA every day to day, the chart doesn't change that much. So like they're always trying to force like some new indicator, or like try to force a new idea that isn't really there. And it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't come across naturally. So yeah, every 2 weeks or so, with kind of the pace that crypto's going at right now, I think that's a solid amount of time. We just did our first one, like our first inaugural one, and that was a blast. Honestly, I've always wanted to do TA videos, but Bitcoin's kind of boring for TA, and there's already like a million guys doing it. So yeah, just the fact that we have this many EOS IOS sister chains now, that we can do like a whole dedicated TA video to all, like 6 or 7 of them. It's a really good sign of how this space is progressing, regardless of whatever the price or whatever block one or whatever does.
Yeah, of course, that sounds great. So I like it how basically there's no set day that it's going to be coming out. It's when the markets have a shift within that 2 week period, so you can really keep the audience up to date with the changes that are going on. So that'll be great. And
yeah,
in the past, exactly. You've had some really quite big interviews on your channel as well, haven't you? You've interviewed Dan Larimer, is that right?
Oh yeah, that was it was about, I think like about 2 months ago or so, and that was truly the honor of a lifetime. I mean, we all look up to him in this community, and I was actually pleasantly surprised about he was relatively, first of all, just tremendously down to earth guy. Like a lot of guys who have like started such big and successful crypto projects, they're quite like arrogant. That they get quite arrogant after a while, and they kind of think they're better than everybody. Not him, from the first 5 seconds, I could tell he's just like a real humble, down to earth dude who just enjoys coding, and just at the end of the day wants to make the world a better place. And I was also really, as I was saying earlier, surprised at how open and forthcoming he was in the interview. He was pretty willing to open up about some not so comfortable subjects for him, the falling out with Block One, the clashing philosophies. But it was good for us as a community to kind of know what happened behind the scenes, because transparency is hard to find in this world, and we're always looking for that in crypto. So I respect him a lot for that.
Yeah, and it's been a tough haul, obviously, right? We've seen it. EOS has gone from what I think the top had ever peaked in the coin market cap, maybe 3rd for like a smidgen. It hung around 5th, 4th.
Yeah, it was like 3rd or 4th. Yeah. It was a big deal.
So yeah, exactly right. It was a big deal, and then it's tough to maintain composure when you have something that goes from being a success, arguably, to arguably not a success based on price, anyway, depending on your metric and how you define success. If market cap is one of your key measurement sticks, which in today's crypto market, it unfortunately is, people aren't looking at the technology and the future potential of these projects so much as they are the hype cycle and just what the current price is. So yeah, EOS has had a tough haul. So it's good that Dan's still working. He's not given up on his sort of mission and dreams to accomplish what he wants to do.
Yeah, as with all of us. And I think you could look at it. There's a couple ways I look at it. Like you could look at it as, yeah, it used to be like, a top 4 cryptocurrency, and now it's like, this in the top 50. But if you think about it from this perspective, back when it was like top 4, there was only like 1,000 or so cryptocurrencies, and today last time I checked, it's like 30,000 or something like that. So I mean, it's not a good sign, of course. I'm not trying to sell like hopium here. Obviously, none of us are particularly happy about how it's declined in the standings. But I would also say being a top 50 coin, it's far from irrelevant, and it's far from like a position where like it can't be saved, like or it can't make a comeback. It's not in an ideal position, but it's in a position to make a comeback still, I would say. So all hope is not lost.
Yeah, when it was a top 3 coin or so, it still had the same infrastructure that it has today, except it's probably better now than it was due to some updates. And now it's getting worked on with the coalition. So yeah, I'd say we're probably the chain and the technology itself is in a better position today than it was when it was a number 3 coin, number 4 coin token. So yeah, potential for it to go back there, I think.
And it moves so fast. Yeah. I mean, look how quickly. Certainly, things can drop fast, as we just recently. So there's an opportunity to go up fast too, right?
I like how you just like casually don't mention any names. You're just like, things can drop fast. We all know what you're talking about, but I won't mention names.
Yeah. It's okay. It's hard. I mean, so many people. Yeah. Luna, right? I mean, it was a popular token. It was well, a lot of people. I had some. I'm not pleased with what happened, and so it's tough for a lot of people to. You need to have thick skin. If anything about crypto, if anything, it will thicken your skin in terms of what you think you have in your portfolio when you look at your block activity or whatever it's called now, versus what you really have. That moves so fast. It's not for the faint of heart.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch on that point a bit because I do think like the downfall of Luna, and I'm actually this is a thought I had in my head that I'll probably make a video on my channel about soon, but I actually do think like the unfortunate collapse of Luna does provide an interesting opportunity for EOS, because we're kind of in this rare position here where I feel like everyone wants to, as you were saying, Wax, everyone wants to invest in like the newest hype cycle train out there. But there's a reason Bitcoin's still number 1, and it will be perhaps always, at least for a very, very long time. Even though it's the worst technology, even though it's the slowest, clunkiest, least cost-efficient blockchain out there. But it's just because it's been around so long, people know it's secure, people know it's safe, they know they're not gonna, it's not gonna pull a Terra Luna. I mean, theoretically anything could happen, but likely not, right? And so I think EOS, though, I mean, given the fact that like it's, kind of like the Bitcoin of the protocol like platform space. Well, Ethereum's the actual like, original OG like Bitcoin of the protocol platforms, but EOS is right up there. It's been around for almost as long as Ethereum, and all these new hype cycle projects that are coming along. They're showing some flaws, and they're showing that like, they're not so reliable, which is why they're new and exciting. But, it's not just Luna, but, Solana's had many crashes, many pauses on the chain. I have no idea, like how in like high heaven that project still maintains its top 7 spot. Like if EOS were to ever crash the way Solana did, it'd be like, instant like crash overnight. Somehow they still like maintain their price. I guess their marketing team must be really good or something. But at some point, if it keeps crashing like this, it'll catch up to them. So, with Luna gone, with like Solana not in the best place, I think it provides an interesting opportunity for EOS to sort of emerge here. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's some of the even lower, like you, because your EOS.io technical analysis video series will also click on Ultra, which is a far much lower market cap, but yet has a very unique, specific and targeted target market. And then you've and then Telos, for example, which is another sort of more generic, overarching Web3 project, but again, a micro cap, and we can see, if anything, we see micro cap has the greatest upside potential in terms of where they can go if they catch a bit of publicity and a bit of hype. They can move up really quick. So that'll make for an interesting TA analysis, right? If you do see one of these much smaller micro cap moving up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have seen Telos move up quite a bit, at certain times, and a lot of these other chains have the potential to do that. So yeah, I like, the reason I don't really do EOS TA videos is because, well, what is there to really cover for the last 4 years, to be honest. But the fact that we have so many EOS sister chains now, and like the fact that so many other projects are using the same technology, tells you like the technology is there and it's sound, and like whatever whatever the price does is what it does. But yeah, as you were saying, that could make for some really interesting content, once these smaller caps, and when these smaller caps move, they really get a move on, like overnight sometimes. So it's pretty crazy.
It makes it exciting. We do have some weird background noise. I don't know. We should check our.
Me or
I muted myself and I still heard it.
I'll mute myself as well. I think it's someone's mic picking up the video.
Maybe. I
still heard it there. So it's when people talk and then someone's mic's picking it up. Or somebody's playing the video as well in the background on YouTube.
That's always fun.
Not me. Maybe I'm touching my mic. I don't know. I'll stop touching my mic here.
Slight leg. No, whatever.
I think we were looking at some of the characteristics of the chains on EOS.io and the statistics of each. And what we find is that a lot of other chains outside of our ecosystem in a similar position kind of promote statistics that are hypothetical or could be achieved rather than the actual. So if you're talking about like transactions per second, for instance, Telos could do and has achieved 10,000 transactions per second. And that's quite high on the scale of other chains in a similar position. There aren't many that can touch it. And when you look at Visa's 25,000 transactions per second, the technology is not too far off being current industry best, really, outside of crypto. So the performance of EOS.io is really quite impressive still. I don't think there's much out there that can compete. And then you've got the likes of Wax, who are the most active blockchain in existence at the moment. It's got the most users. Or not the most users, the most
Well, it's the most throughput. So they'll have 22-ish million transactions a day type thing, right? So on Blocktivity, they're a mile ahead. Yeah. Are there any other chains, any other ecosystems, Mr. Dunker, that you follow? Like, are you like obviously Cosmos, because you were also doing some videos on Luna ecosystem, so obviously you're familiar with there. Is there anything else that's caught your eye? And
Ultra, for sure. Ultra. Like, I don't know how much of like gamers you guys are, but I am. I play quite a lot more than I should, to be honest. But they just partnered with Ubisoft, which is like I was saying in my other video, Ubisoft is a big name in the game developer space. Recently, kind of, they've been in some controversies, but that's a different story for a different day. They're a huge name, and they've made a lot of like the best-selling games ever, like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry. They're coming out with a new Avatar game later this year. All their games sell like between 10 to 25 million copies. So like they're right up there amongst like, the heaviest hitters in like the game development space. And they're actually a block producer, from what I saw, for Ultra right now. And that news really excited me, because being a gamer, I've played all those games, number one. And number two, what I really see is like, I always thought like blockchain in gaming was like the easiest direct pathway, let's say, to mass adoption, because you have the fact that like gamers are already tech savvy to begin with. It's not going to take them that long to catch on to this new technology. And there's a huge need for blockchain in the gaming space, because, people play these games for like, hundreds of hours sometimes, grinding and trying to pick up like these mythical items. And it sounds silly, but sometimes, they want to like sell them on an open market. And, if somebody else wants to buy them, it's always been a challenge to do that with traditional finance. Like you don't want to like swipe your debit card every time like you buy a 20-cent sword in a game or something like that. But like with crypto, and especially with EOS, that's highly doable. And even with Ethereum, it's not so doable. With you want to buy like a sword for $1, and then the gas fee is like $15. Like, what's the point? So like it's really exciting for blockchain. I think it's a perfect culmination of like, the blockchain and gaming elements coming together. whether they can market this successfully and like really push it through, and like, because that's always the biggest problem with EOS. Like, can they market it and get enough people to know about it? That's always going to be the challenge. But yeah, I do see the potential there.
I'm really excited about that.
Do you have any concerns about the fact that Ultra is a private blockchain, so it's not a traditional public blockchain? Is that
what does that mean?
Well,
actually, so like, is it just you can't? There's no public ledger, or
no? I just mean like not anybody. Like, so you mentioned Ubisoft is a block producer on Ultra, so it's private in that you just can't, like, for example, we just can't start up our own block producer and have it participate in the Ultra network. It's like it's kind of curated in that sense, so it's a private blockchain. Like, their code isn't open sourced. From what I think I'm pretty sure no, it's not, because that's come up on some of the coalition calls. It's a bit of a challenge because as the EOSIO coalition is working on making protocol upgrades, it's hard for them to they don't want to break things for some of these participating chains. Ultra's on these calls. Remy James has been there and he's participating, but it's tough for that coalition to know what they can, or, you know, can they make changes that are going to accommodate and work with Ultra. But if they don't know what the code is, because it's not open source, it makes it hard to do that. But I'm just thinking more from the gamer's point of view. I wonder if they are even going to care. Like, do you think people really care at this stage about the idea that it needs to be a public permissionless blockchain that has my digital item that I have sovereign ownership over, or do you think it's obfuscated enough away they won't even notice?
I mean, as long as it doesn't affect their gameplay, they won't care. Like, these guys, I mean, myself included, like, we don't even care. Like, when we're playing the game, like, we don't even care if like someone's screaming at us at the top of their lungs from the background. Like, we're just gonna play the game. So I highly doubt like it's gonna. But from a blockchain, like a crypto enthusiast perspective, well, man, that's a really good question, and it gets a lot more nuanced, in my opinion, than just a straight up yes or no answer. Because on the one hand, we've seen all the, you know, huge problems the block producer cartels have caused on EOS. So on one hand, it's like, okay, you know, I do like the fact that like they can, you know, kick out like, you know, like Bitfinex or, you know, exchanges, for example, if they're not being productive. On the other hand, though, like, it's tough to say, and I don't know them personally. It's tough to say how they're going to use that power and how they wield it. So it's, you know, you just hope that they have competent ownership and management of the block producers, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, that's just it. They will have the opportunity to have management and oversight, whereas EOS, you know, there's no central authority that can say, "Hey,
right,
you're an extractive value extractor, block producer, so we're gonna pull you, and you no longer get to capture that inflation from the chain." Where at Wax, it's more centralized. They have the OIG, the Office of Inspector General, and they can actually kind of curate and pick and choose the BPs that are providing value back subjectively to the ecosystem. And it looks like Ultra is doing the same path. And we've seen with Wax, in terms of performance and the success of that blockchain, it's kind of worked. And then we also see with, like, say, Solana, where it's a VC backed. I don't know the mechanics of Solana well enough to understand how exactly the validators or nodes work there, but I would kind of almost expect it to be somewhat curated as well, because it is such a kind of centrally controlled and orchestrated chain. But I don't know. Maybe someone else who knows more about that can fix me.
Well, only time can tell, I guess. But with all the, you know, problems we've had with block producers on EOS, I can't say like I'm immediate. I mean, I guess to some level it goes against the principles of decentralization. But it's really like a tough balance that, you know, we're trying to find in this community here. Like, we want decentralization, obviously. We want like permissionless, you know, everything. But like, it's hard to actually manage it. So, you know, you have to have like some elements of centralization and some of decentralization, I feel. You have to have some, try to find like the ideal hybrid synergy of it. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So we're still early in the space, and yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. Just hope, you know, they have, if they do have like, you know, good, like you know, what's the word, like what's like a beneficial dictator? There's some term for a dictator.
Benevolent, benevolent versus malevolent.
Benevolent, yeah. Well, let's just hope they have like benevolent management.
Yeah.
And if they do, because I love their idea, and I love that they already have like a partnership with Ubisoft. I'm ready to try it like the day it comes out. And yeah, gamers won't care. Like gamers, right now they currently use Steam, which is completely centralized, and Steam has done a lot of things that piss off a lot of gamers, but they don't care. I mean, they still use it, they'll still buy it, partially because there's no market alternative, but it's going to be a far better, like far more decentralized still, comparatively speaking.
Yeah, I really don't think gamers will mind at all. As long as the game isn't affected negatively, then they should
Exactly.
be absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think I'm looking at Ultra more as a kind of a private company, and that's fine. I don't think they need to. Not every blockchain needs to be decentralized in the same respect.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
agree.
private company and achieving what they'd like to go out and achieve.
As long as they say up front, like, we're a private company and these are our rules and this is what we're going to do. As long as, they're not like being deceitful or dishonest about it, which, I don't think they are, then yeah.
No, they're pretty out in the open. They do a lot of, that's one thing Ultras, if people don't follow Ultra, you should follow them on Twitter. We can probably find it and share it in the stream chat. But basically they do a lot of AMAs and live streams, and they're quite open. And as they should, because they're building their brand, right? They're building up a following, and the recent exclusive first-person shooter came out, Atrium, one of those. But it's like a skin. So the part that the NFTs essentially of the game, or the unique assets, are skins. So you would have like a certain skin for your avatar in one game, but you can take that skin and put it in an entirely different game. You'd have it look the same. So
yeah, that's
an interesting. Because a lot of people pay for skins, right? Pay for just aesthetic, not even utility value. So it's it's a nice way to step into it, because at some point, surely it will be like mythical sword example you had. So it's not a skin, but it's actually an in-game item that has utility, that then has value because of the utility, that has a secondary market that people are going to, the pay to players, which there are many of, want to have the awesome stuff and don't want to have to grind it out, just like we saw in World of Warcraft, right? The gold mining farms led to a lot of Westerners buying gold just to play the game and kind of advance themselves faster. But that was all private, and people still did it. So when you can take that and put it in sort of self-sovereign ownership, because it's on a blockchain, then that, you would think, and it will be far more enticing to potential gamers to know that they actually can own the assets, and Blizzard or whoever the game developer is can't just print a bunch more, hit the enter button a few more times, and make more of these assets that it took forever to obtain or purchase.
How much interoperability between the assets in games are you currently seeing? Can you take a shield from one game and move it into another game and make use of it, or is that not really happening yet?
Well, it, like, in theory it could happen. Like, it's not that hard from like a coding perspective. Like, it's not that hard to like program it so like games could have that interoperability. But where my concern with that would come in would be with like gameplay balances, because like if they're two completely different games, how does it translate? Like, what's the power level? Because if I'm playing one game and, like, as you said, I get a shield from that game and then I transfer it to another game, is it like, how does the power level translate to the other game? It could like be significantly overpowered or, underpowered, or if the other game doesn't even use shields, like, it's more about like how it fits in with the specific gameplay balancing than I think it is like a technical issue. Because I don't have any doubt, and I'm pretty sure they're already doing this, where you can take like certain NFTs and put them in other games. I think for the skins, that will be relatively easy to implement, and that could even be done from day one, because you don't have to balance it into another game. It's just pure appearance and pure cosmetics, and that actually in and of itself is already a huge market. Like, there's like, I don't know if you've heard of League of Legends, but it's like the most popular multiplayer game now, and you don't, like, they've made all their like hundreds of millions of dollars over the years just by selling skins. I mean, there's other things they do too, but there's nothing, because it's like a MOBA, and like the game is like purely dependent on your skill. So like, you can't have pay to play in that game at all. So all their money, they've built like this huge empire just, off of selling skins and skins alone. So I think that in and of itself is already like a sufficient enough marketplace to get started. And then afterwards, I'm pretty sure somebody somewhere will find a solution to balance the gameplay elements to, different power level items and whatnot.
Well, over the years, I think some of the MMORPGs have had the time to really kind of understand their internal markets within the game. So everywhere's got like an auction house. So you can get your items that you've collected and then put them on the auction house, and anyone who's playing the game can buy them at the price that you put them up for. And therefore, certain items have certain value based on what the players perceive it to have. So it's the same thing if it was just real currency, if all those items that you were selling were NFTs. So the game itself will kind of determine the value of the NFTs and the perceived value from the other gamers. I think that's going to be really interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm really kind of looking forward to, that point where you kind of take all the effort you've been putting into the game and then start making actual money from it based on the perceived value of those items in the game, not outside of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And what actually really excites me about this is like, NFTs are a pretty, hot, trendy buzzword these days. And people want to argue. I get into a lot of arguments with like non-crypto people about like the legitimacy of NFTs. It's funny to me how clueless some of these people are, because like they'll be talking about how, oh, you're paying like thousands of dollars for a JPEG, but I'm like, dude, like you'll pay like $1,000 for like a baseball card that like your favorite player signs. I mean, it's not like a few blots of ink make that card inherently more valuable or something like that, but you appreciate its sentimental value for whatever it is. I mean, I got into an argument with like an old lady on Facebook, like such an old school, like out of date kind of, like one of those like your grandma, like who doesn't understand technology at all. I mean, she's one of those types who will like spend $10,000 to like buy some antique furniture cabinet, but here she is calling NFTs a scam. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is just like NFTs, whether you want to, question their legitimacy in other fields, I think unquestionably they're going to have value in the gaming world because of what you were just saying, Waxa, because there is actual value in in-game items, virtual items. There is. I mean, there's things you can do in games that people will be willing to pay for. And the NFT technology really, really allows there to be a scarcity element to it. That's going to, I think, I remember I used to play like Diablo 3 when it first came out, and it had an auction house, as you were just speaking about. And it was a great idea at first. And like I, was grinding really hard in the first like month I was playing it. And I got like a pretty decent item set. And, I actually made a solid like $100 or so from selling items on the auction house. But then like I took a break for a month and I came back and I realized the armor set that I was like grinding like every day for, it was worth like, $200, and then suddenly it was worth like $3 for the simple fact that like the game developers made it, they printed, as you said, a lot more of those items. So eventually it just became less and less valuable over time. So yeah, that was pretty frustrating. But when I heard about like NFTs coming to gaming and like, blockchain technology being implemented to it, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And that's what really excited me, for the simple fact that now with NFT technology, like scarcity and like, actual having an economic framework that's going to be sustainable is a lot more possible now.
Yeah, scarcity before this hasn't really existed apart from in-game purchasing. So you have to purchase the item and therefore it's slightly more rare than something you could collect on the floor, or then difficulty to achieve that item. So you have to achieve something very hard and then you get the item. So not many people have achieved that very hard thing. So they're the two ways, but eventually everyone achieves that very hard thing and as many people as you want could buy the item. Therefore it's not really as valuable because someone has purchased it, anyone could purchase it. So with NFTs, we create scarcity based on amount. So there's only a limited availability. So to get those things, you can have first to achieve or various other metrics that are involved, which would make scarcity this like an implemented capability within games, which isn't really that.
Dunker, the games that you're playing now, are they play to earn?
Let's see. So now actually no, to be honest. I haven't really I've heard of some play to earn games, but to be quite honest, the play to earn games just graphically and like immersion wise, they're just not quite on par with like, the games that like you just play for fun. But I'm sure one day they will be, and like, it'll be really exciting.
It's a
Interesting.
good topic to cover.
Yeah.
Play to earn. People don't like it at all. All the big game companies have had backlash from various communities based on having play to earn metrics within the game. So NFTs have to find a way where they aren't really affecting the gameplay, and obviously that can be quite limiting if you wanted to have every item as NFT on a marketplace, because then they have in-game value and therefore it'll be pay to win. So there has to be some kind of way to balance that out. Otherwise, people are not going to be playing these games necessarily, apart from to make money, which isn't the reason why you play games in the first place.
Right.
Shouldn't be, not traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do see a point. Like, I watched a gaming YouTuber, Morbius, I think is his name, and he was talking about he's been making a living off like streaming for a while, and he was pretty unhappy with the play to earn idea, as you were just saying, for the exact same reasons you just listed. But I do feel like there is like a time. First of all, like play to earn. I mean, pay to win games have existed since the beginning of time, and people still play them. Like World of Warcraft, that's totally like pay to win. Like even if it's not like strict. Technically speaking, I mean, there's so many black markets where you can buy like a leveled up account, you can buy like better gear. I mean, this stuff exists anyways. Now, whether that's like going to be good for the integrity of the game, like I don't know, but that's a question. I'm not like an omniscient god. I don't have all the answers. Those are great points to bring up.
What I'm hearing, what I'm hearing is that you're not playing games, at least at the moment, in order to accumulate saleable, tradable digital assets. You're playing still for the gaming, the actual playability of the games.
Yeah, to be honest, yes, and it's just for the simple fact that like I have to enjoy a gameplay experience, and I think most gamers would agree that they want to enjoy the experience first and foremost, and then if there's like extra play to earn elements, then that's even better. But the play to earn and the blockchain games are so early in their development cycle right now that obviously they're not going to be on par from a graphic standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, as like the more like established games coming out of like AAA studios right now. But I haven't, I don't have any doubt in the future they will be. I mean, they're going to catch up soon, and in a couple of years, maybe sooner than we think. Especially with Ubisoft getting involved now, like that was really big news to me. And Ubisoft is kind of already doing like pay to win. They call it like microtransactions, which it means a complete different thing in the gaming community as it does in the blockchain community. And they have like even in Assassin's Creed, I was playing that single player, and they have options where like you can pay like an extra, they call it Helix credits, to get like better gear or an experience boost or things like that. And gamers aren't too happy about it, but people buy it. There's a market for it. I think what I see as what would be the optimal solution is perhaps you could just game where like you have two options. You have the option of like the let's say a non-economic version where you can just enjoy the game, but you also have an option to like venture into like the NFT blockchain version of the same game where you can buy stuff, you can grind to win stuff and things like that. You kind of create like two, because I think there's a place for both, and like you give people options to to try out both and see how they like it.
I think one thing I really found like I think is really clever about what Ultra is doing, and we're spending a lot of time talking about Ultra, but why not?
Yeah.
Because doing the skin part that's NFTized, it doesn't prevent them from creating expansions and additions to the game. So like World of Warcraft is a great example where, when it first came out, you were capped at level 60. So it was like you would reach the pinnacle of grinding and you'd have the best gear, but then where do they go from there? So they need to add. If you want to add more to the game, and all of your items were NFTs at that point in time, they kind of would still become obsolete because they're creating more items that are up to level 70 and level 80 and like better and better items. You still end up having this obsolescence of items. But if they're skins, a skin is never obsolete because it's always a skin you can apply.
Right.
So it doesn't. So I think it's really clever they went that route to like encourage this sort of adoption because there is no obsolescence of the items.
Right. No pay to
Yeah.
win.
So yeah. I agree, and that's why I was, I think no matter what, we already know there's going to be a market for skins and for cosmetics, the cosmetic aspect of NFTs and gamings. And then, hopefully at some point someone will figure out how to make like a fair and balanced like economic ecosystem that could support like play to earn, as you were saying, Gabriel. And I have no doubt at some point some smart developer somewhere is going to figure it out. We'll just have to wait and see.
Where do you see the crossover with metaverse? Where does a traditional game kind of end? What's the difference between a metaverse experience and an actual game as you describe it?
And before you answer that,
Ooh,
I was exactly going to say that. What do you think of the Ready Player One movie and that whole? Because that's exactly that. That's like basically metaverse and they were gaming. So yeah, go ahead.
That was epic, man. That's got to be one of my favorite movies ever. And as a kid, I always dreamed of like living in some kind of universe like that, and to see like it's actually about to become a reality. I mean, I read like Elon Musk's like Neuralink whatever thing is going to come out, and like it could make it like as real of an experience as you could imagine. I actually it's funny you asked me that because I actually have a VR headset. I have a PSVR, and I would say at the moment I've been trying it for a while, and the VR technology is not quite there yet to be super immersive. Like most games, they still look like like paper bricks, and like they look like the old 32-bit like Nintendo games just in 3D and surrounding you. So it's not quite there yet. It's not quite immersive enough yet. But I definitely see, when I'm using it in a couple of years, this could be really big. They're going to definitely improve on the graphics. It's going to be a lot more immersive, and it's going to be a huge part of like, I think it'll be a huge part of like, not just gaming, but day-to-day life. I mean, I was thinking about this just from an investor's perspective. Like, how many use cases could you find with it? Like, if you want to train soldiers, for example, better to train them like, in some VR simulation than have them actually, you can't train them by having them actually go out in the battlefield and die 100 times and respawn in real life. So I mean, that's one use case. I think it could be useful, for like, it's useful for a lot of athletes already. They're saying it could be useful for certain, aspects of like rehab, just countless use cases for it. And so to answer your question, I think the metaverse is going to be it's going to be here. It's going to be somebody has to do it. And I don't really have that much faith in Meta or Facebook, whatever they call themselves these days. I would much rather like a blockchain space get involved with that. And then where it connects with everything we've been talking about is the fact that like that's going to make the NFTs actually seem real. Like at that point, it's like as close to like a real tangible object that you could get. Like if you have like, a legendary sword or shield that you got from grinding hours and hours, and then you can actually put on a VR headset and like you can touch it, you can feel it, like you can use it to swing. I mean, with the VR headset, like they have these like move sense controllers where like you can actually swing it, and it actually does feel like you're actually using it. So that's going to be as close to like, a feeling of a real sensational, tangible object as there is. And I think that's going to, just go a lot further in advancing this space.
I can imagine in the future, everyone's houses will just be white walls, and then you'll have kind of an augmented glass on, and you'll just be able to see everything that you want in your building. Maybe some like blocks where the chairs are.
That's kind of like how it was in that movie in Ready Player One. So yeah, that'll be
same idea.
That'll be exciting. Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, totally.
I'm also a big fan of that movie. I've watched it a few times. I thought it was super cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Watch it if you haven't. Like, I just hope we actually get to live in that, like, in our lifetimes. That's all I'm hoping for.
So it's bringing it back a little bit to technical analysis, or at least
Yeah, let's.
market, at least chart, like market trading. DeFi was a big wave, and there was a lot of projects that mushroomed out of the DeFi craze. And then towards the end of last year, I think it was like around the end of last year, the gaming and the metaverse projects suddenly became very, very popular. And so I think my attitude to crypto trading has changed because of this recent bear market. It's hard to know that you're in a bear market until you really feel that you're in a bear market, at which point it's kind of too late. But so my attitude is, rather than hodl, rather than having diamond hands and holding no matter what until 5 or 10 years down the road, I do feel that it's best to, if you want to try and trade, is to trade with the trends of these waves of new areas of innovation that come out of our Web3 ecosystem at large. So at some point, like what you're describing, Dunker, the blending of like improving the quality of the gaming experience inside of metaverse type realities or virtual realities, or the play to earn and the NFTs, as these things actually start to merge, and we do see that trend begin, where gamers, maybe like yourself and non-crypto savvy gamers, come into the metaverse NFT gaming space. That trend is going to be where you want to be trading based on chart analysis and riding those massive waves of liquidity and new money that comes into the space. That, I think, is very exciting, because that could be hundreds of millions of people coming into crypto on the basis of finding games. And so the opportunity is probably going to be absolutely massive if you survive long enough with your gunpowder, with your crypto portfolio, or with your cash, to be able to play that game.
Oh yeah. This is, yeah, I like what you just said. This has kind of been happening since the beginning of crypto. I remember when I first got into it, like, privacy coins were a hot thing at one time, and like when Monero went up, like even like Verge went up. Like
Right.
it's and then there's certain every year there's a new buzzword, there's a new like hot trend. As you were saying, there was DeFi, and then now and then NFTs were a thing. And then, now it sounds like, metaverse is the new buzzword that's like popping up in like these mainstream outlets, and like that people are hearing about all the time. So, and, in the EOS community, we have Ultra, we have like, I think if any project is like really well lined up for the Web 3.0, like I think EOS is in a really good position. I don't think Ethereum's quite fast enough yet. And with all the new kids on the block, the Lunas, the Avalanches, the Solanas of the world, they're not quite proven enough yet. They're not quite that battle tested. Whereas EOS, we've dealt with a lot of things that we've overcome. We've overcome the whole IDO situation. We're still trying to figure out the block producer things, but hey, we're still standing strong after all these years. So having like a fast and scalable but reliable blockchain to, ride this new wave. And then from a market perspective, yeah, like if you're purely in it for trading and you're purely in it for money, like, I'm not saying you are, but like if you just look at it from a trader's perspective, which I wouldn't blame you at all. The market's so volatile. And I think all of us have been, burned at some point or another by just holding one project because we believe in it no matter what. So, there's nothing wrong with just trying to like ride the hot trends and, make your own money as a trader. And yeah, like that is something we definitely have to keep an eye on. And we will be in this TA series because, if like the metaverse thing starts trending, well, now it's time, we better hop on and, take a more serious look at Ultra on the charts. Ethereum virtual machine, that is that's starting to trend as well. I'm seeing that start to pop up more and more outside of EOS IO circle. So, okay, now let's take a look at Telos, as the EVM's hype starts to creep up more and more. Telos has like a nice EVM project going on. So hey, let's take a look at them more on the charts and on EOS as well. We're always going to keep an eye on EOS. So yeah, I agree with you. You take a look at all the trends, you try to keep up with it the best you can. And then you find a relevant project and we will absolutely, TA the living crap out of it.
Well, it's interesting looking through, because you can always go backward looking too, right? That's the good thing about chart analysis, is you can always look backward at previous sort of cycles and what happened and what were the news. And Telos has a functional EVM, and I don't know the exact date. To be curious to look at the date it came out, and then what happened with the chart and what happened with the price of Telos, and then to kind of take that as EOS EVM is being worked on. It's not live yet though; it's in testnet. So what predictions are possible? But then you got to look at the overarching market sentiment and how much did that play into it. Right. So this is why I don't even attempt to do this type of stuff. It seems too convoluted to me, to my own detriment, because then I just hold things to apparently zero.
0.0001.
The fact we can laugh and smile about this is at least a good sign. Life is more than just this, and there's far more to being here than making money and whatever. And you got to laugh a little bit, right? You got to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's actually something that is quite interesting, because despite the fact that like the price hasn't moved with EOS for a very long time and the sentiment hasn't been great, at least from a price perspective, I mean, I've still found enough stuff to talk about in this community and enough people, individuals like yourselves that are still, passionate and, relevant, in keeping this project relevant. We're still sitting here discussing it. So, I think a lot's going to happen. We'll definitely, that's a really, because it's so hard to predict. And that's why, and I guess this is like the most valuable lesson I've learned from doing technical analysis that I kind of just want to share with everybody here, is just that like TA is about making decisions and not predictions. And it's more about like statistics, probabilities, and risk management than it is about like getting things right or wrong. So like if I'm looking at a chart, and I see there's a key level of support here, and I see the moving averages and whatnot, like a lot of people, and I made this mistake in the beginning too, they see, whenever, this indicator happens, let's say like the MACD, like whenever this crosses, that means I immediately buy and put everything into it. And it's like, no, wait a minute. It doesn't mean that. Like, it just means that there's a good chance, there's a better chance that something will happen, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Like there's not one single indicator that guarantees anything. So what we'll be doing is not just, outright TA, but also like teaching people the concepts behind it. The way I look at it is, if I see a certain indicator, okay, I can reasonably look. Let's say Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin's pretty low on the RSI. It's like on the relative strength index, it's sitting at about 30 right now. And rarely in its history, there's been like 5 times in its 13-year history where it's gone below that 30. Now, it doesn't mean it can't go below it, right? So it doesn't mean like this is definitively the bottom and you just buy everything, but it just means, okay, we can see that there's a decent chance that it's hit the bottom right now. So maybe it's a good time to average in, to put a little position in it, to start accumulating it. But yeah, you just can't look at anything like, it's a complete guarantee. Because as you were saying, Chris, it's really convoluted. It depends on the market sentiment overall. It depends on so many factors. So you just kind of got to approach it from that kind of a perspective.
That's smart. It's like Texas Hold'em. It's a game of probabilities. There's no certainty. You don't know what's going to come next, but probabilistically, you can certainly make decisions, as you put it, right, based on probability. And if the probability is more towards your favor and you make those decisions repetitively, eventually you'll end up winning more times you lose, because that's how probabilities work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this, like, I guess you could kind of consider this a feather in my cap, is like, despite the fact that like I started in a bear market and I'm invested in some stocks too, like I'm one of few investors who's actually like not lost money, who's actually made like profited on my investments. And it's not because I'm the smartest guy in the world or like, I'm a god with the TA charts. I would actually say like I've gotten a lot more calls wrong than I've gotten right. But TA is about like risk management and like decisions. So it's like going back to your Texas Hold'em example, right? It's not that like, everyone's going to get bad hands, everyone's going to get good hands, but like, if you have just like a single pair of a low card, you may not necessarily want to go all in on that. Like, okay, you can have like, you can put a little bit on that, and you still might you still might win, but like, you just have to learn to manage and decide how much you want to risk based on what you see. Because yeah, there's no guarantees, and I would say that's led to my success as an investor. I mean, I'm no Warren Buffett or anything like that, but like, making money. I read somewhere like 95% of people lose money. So, and yeah, as I said, I've gotten a lot more calls wrong than I've gotten right. But, just the fact that like, I was invested in Luna as well, right? And, I got completely wrecked with that, but I just didn't have that much invested in it. So, that's why even though I'm going to get mistakes, everyone's going to make mistakes. I want to be able to teach people how you can manage it so that like, when you're right, it's going to really, really be like a huge home run. And then when you're wrong, it's going to suck, but like, you're not going to get completely wrecked and lose everything either. So
The
that's
diversification.
general ideas. Yeah.
Following the Twitter, some people who are like, I was all in on Luna. And it's like,
Oh my God. Yeah. I've read
it's the same story
yeah.
with EOS, right? People were like, I lost everything. Well, whatever, right? You lost opportunity with EOS, but why did anybody go, like, just the idea of going all in on something? I wish people were more sensible about it. Like, just
exactly.
They want to just like, what's the ape? I guess that's the term, right? Ape into something and
Yeah.
mortgage your house and
YOLO or
yeah, right. It's like, yeah, you do only live once, but it's a long life. So
yeah,
diversify.
exactly.
You get wrecked. Like,
exactly. So yeah, I'm hoping like in this technical analysis series, like it's people get the wrong idea about TA. Like I heard someone say like TA is like astrology for men or something like that. but like it gets that let's say reputation because like people misinterpret like the meaning of it. Like it's not meant to be something that like guarantees a future outcome. It's just something that like gives you indicators and like probabilities and statistics.
yeah,
So
it's not called TP, technical predictions. It's
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of I'm excited, man. There's and I think with this whole series, there's gonna be a lot that like translates outside of just EOS and outside of just the crypto world in general. I think it could help a lot of people if they want to get started even investing in the traditional stock market. Like my parents have been invested in stocks for a very long time, and like they're like old school investors. They don't read the charts at all, and a lot of times they're shocked when like because they've been investing in for 10 years, and a lot of times like I predict something that's going to happen like better than they do, even though they've been invested in 10 years. And I'm just like, well, dude, it's just because I look at the charts. Like this stuff is gonna what we're gonna be teaching. It's gonna translate outside of just crypto and outside of just like outside of even EOS. Hell, sometimes I even like view it like I had a friend the other day like who was like trying to get advice on like how to talk to this girl, and I'm just like, dude, look at it from a probability perspective. Like there's no guarantee she's gonna like you, but based on everything you told me, we can estimate it's probably like a 75% chance. So you can put this level of emotional investment into it. Just don't go all in on it. I was talking to him like that.
Relationships. I love it. That's a whole channel that's born right there.
Good idea, actually. Good idea. I might have to start a new channel here. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Got an idea for CryptoDunker 2 now.
TLA, technical level analysis.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't realize you were into because we came up with the idea of just doing these TA vids. I didn't anticipate that you're going to focus on also educating, which is cool. And I know Gav and Wax are also doing this, so it's kind of synergistic on some of the content that you guys have been putting out, looking at educating on this topic for folks like me who just don't know what I'm looking at. So that's cool. Sounds like there's lots, and maybe Gav, you might have some pointed questions. Like there's so many different ways to do TA2, right? This isn't a singular monolithic approach. There's a lot of different ways that this can be done, right?
Yeah, so I probably start with saying that exactly there is no one way, so there's no one right answer. My take is that it kind of depends partly on the personality and the lifestyle of the person, right? So it really has to, you've got to look at your own attention span, the way that you absorb and process information. So it really is a very personalized thing. So really it's about learning different people's perspective. And so it's good to see Dunker's perspective, my perspective, other people's perspective, and then feel out where you live within that blend. And like one of the principles that Wax and I are covering is that you have to develop your own system. That's not the same as just making things up, but it really is making your own system based on the education that you can get, combined with your personality and your lifestyle and your goals, your finances and liquidity and diversification and these things that are very personalized. That's why it's really not appropriate ever, regardless of legal compliance. That's why it's not good to try and give financial advice, because you never really know the other person's full situation unless you really are acting as a financial consultant and having a one-to-one relationship to understand everything about that person's situation. So we're keeping it generic, and it's good to get different perspectives. I'm looking forward to watching the continuation of Dunker's videos.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I appreciate this opportunity, this partnership. I'm looking forward to many more videos down the road. Super excited.
Right on. So we got a few people watching. If you have any questions,
Yeah, do we have any live stream questions or?
Not really. Just a couple comments coming in.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, people chatting. Open source for Meta, maybe key. We were talking about Meta. That came up from.
Okay.
So I can throw a couple of questions, just keeping it kind of light and generic. Are there some you mentioned some YouTubers will have lots and lots of indicators, and each video it's like they're introducing a yet another indicator. Do you have a few favorites or a few that you don't like for some particular reason?
Like indicators or YouTubers?
Yeah, indicators.
Indicators. Okay. Because I was like, okay, I could give a long list for both, but well, I like to keep it pretty simple because when you convolute it with like a lot of people, they feel smart when they have like 10,000 different indicators and lines on their chart and everything. And like, yeah, you feel smart, you feel like a genius, you feel super cool. But like, you can get what I call like analysis paralysis in those situations because they're rarely all going to line up. And then also I found personally, and I'm sure every one of us is guilty of this, I often, when I put too many indicators there, I get into a bad habit of like making the indicators match what I want to happen instead of like reading the indicators objectively. So I like to keep it simple. I do like, for the most part, naked trading, just so basic like support and resistance, basic, the 250-day moving averages are great. Like those I found are really good to play around. They're, they're actually reliable most of the time. I like to look at the RSI to see if things are like overbought on, or oversold. And, just taking a look at like daily, weekly charts. Sometimes, 1 hour or the 4-hour chart. I don't really like going anything, under 1 hour because at that point it's just kind of like a casino. So yeah, I like to keep it pretty simple. And I'm of the belief that like generally speaking, you can keep it pretty simple and it's actually better to it does, you do feel like you're a genius when you're looking at like 20,000 different indicators and lines on the chart, but most of them are like completely meaningless and you got to just filter out the noise. So yeah, I would say I keep it relatively simple.
It's also true that a lot of indicators actually do a very similar thing to each other, right? So it's a lot, like there'll be momentum indicators or like different categories of indicators. You don't need 10 indicators that fall into the exact same type or category of indicator. So even though there may be hundreds to choose from, if you choose about like 5 or 10 or whatever you learn that is part of your personalized strategy, it doesn't mean that you're missing out on insight that is available from other indicators, because they're still doing calculations based on the exact same thing, which is the reality of the actual price itself. So there's only so much that you can derive out of the price. So another reason not to have hundreds of indicators on your chart.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say like the 80-20 rule applies here as well, where like, 20% of your indicators are going to give you like 80% of your results. It might even be like 90-10 in this case. And then, yeah, the rest is it's kind of just noise. So as you said, they all basically tell the same thing. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of ways to look at it. Off topic slightly, but what do you think what are your thoughts of Eden on EOS these days? Have you been following along how that's been progressing, and do you keep up on any of that? I know we've spoken about it before. You've interviewed me on that topic. You're an Eden member.
Yeah. I haven't kept up with it recently. To be honest, I just I like the idea of it. I still feel there's some issues with it. But I like the idea. And I'm not the type of person who says like, we're so impatient with the blockchain space. We're always like, this has to be perfect from day one and change the world from day one, or it's never going to be useful at all. I think it's still a work in progress. And I like the idea of it. I like the concept of it. I think the whole playoff kind of system is I get where Dan was coming from, and like I get like the advantages of it, but like also I kind of view it as a potential detriment, because let's say like if it's just a luck based, what if like whoever would have won like been the 6 finalists, what if they all happen to meet together in the first round, or like what if like we all, Chris, I know you follow baseball, like, or you don't actually follow it, but you get the idea of like your son plays it. So I know you have some idea of how the MLB playoffs work. Like, what if you have some random situation where like, the top 2 teams just have to meet each other in the first round, and it's completely randomly assigned. So that's kind of one issue I see with it. And then something still doesn't quite feel right about me about having like a randomized winner in the final round. I get the thought process behind it, but I'm also like, okay, we're not like Russia just yet. We're not like, a millennia long dictatorship where like there's such inherent intrinsic, corruption mechanisms that are over. I kind of feel that's excessive and unnecessary at this point. But I do like the direction it's heading. I like the idea. It's definitely better than nothing. It provides a great chance for people to get funding who otherwise couldn't get it. So despite its problems, I think it's promising. And it will continue to improve over time. I didn't participate in the last election just because I saw all these problems, and I wasn't that much into EOS back then. I was kind of going through like an EOS dry spell at the time, and I'm not the type of person who's gonna like try to get money when like I'm not actually making videos. So it's just like an honest integrity thing I have, I guess. But whenever the next one rolls around, if like I'm making more videos and there's more stuff going on in EOS, I might participate again and just see how it goes. It's definitely a step in the right direction for sure.
Great comments. And so a couple things. The sortition winner, the randomized winner, that still happens in the code, but there's no advantage. So the current chief delegates have ratified the proposal from the last set of chief delegates, which I was a member of, and that was basically to remove that pay gap in the sortition winner head chief delegate versus the rest. So now they're all equal. It's entirely symbolic. So because I think people are recognizing exactly your point. We're not Russia. We don't have this incumbent advantage where we need to randomize the winner. It makes a lot of sense when you have multiple layers getting you to the final, because you've got the best of the best there, and they all would be suitable choices to have that figurehead role. But because this is only like 2 layers deep, you kind of pick that if there was actual value, like actual more responsibilities or some sort of like, what does the head chief delegate even have or do? And so now it's just entirely symbolic. So that's good. In terms of the next election, it is July 9th, Saturday, July 9th. That's when it should be. And you don't have to, like, what you should do, at least, Ezra, if you can, just show up and just vote. You don't have to be running yourself to get funding. You can just show up as a conscientious member to participate, to vote for someone else who wants to move up. So that's always encouraged to Eden members, right? Where you don't have to be there with a project or with a use of funds necessarily. And the other thing I'll mention is that the current Eden chief delegates are really starting to look at and consider, how does Eden become more involved politically in EOS governance? So you mentioned a few times just the block producers and how there's room for improvement there. Eden is looking at it, and it's early. It's too soon to give a lot of responsibility to this kind of budding political system, but so far so good. We've had a few. I mean, because we were actually past the 1 year mark where we had the first trial election. That was May 14th of last year, and so now there are 4 elections. 4 elections now. 2 trial elections, 2 proper elections, and I think everyone could kind of objectively say that we've had good people rise to the top. I don't think we've had any real, like, oh man, that person, they shouldn't have been there, that was terrible. Haven't really had that. So as far as like an experiment in this iterative process, it's promising, and hopefully it does iterate to the point where Eden has actual teeth within EOS governance. And what that looks like and how we get there, we don't know, but at least that's being talked about, especially now. The current CDs are way more sort of looking at that explicitly, where we didn't really get much with the last set of CDs. So that's kind of cool.
So as I was saying, it's a good step in the right direction, and everything doesn't have to be perfect from day one. So I hope so, because this would, if Eden could have more and more influence in like EOS governance, I think it would really mark the first time that like the people in charge of EOS actually have like best intentions in mind. I think it's safe to say, and I'm not going to throw out names, but like previous leadership hasn't always had like, the long-term success of EOS as their number one priority. So, just getting in people who care I think will make a huge difference.
It would be the first blockchain to have anything like this. That's what I think is still very cool. Like, and it could be a distinguishing factor if EOS is looking for this narrative flip. And so it's like right now people are sort of clinging on this, the EVM is coming. It's like, okay, that's great. That's kind of also already been done. So sure, it's good, but it's not setting us apart. Eden on EOS, this fractal democracy political playoff system, that is entirely unique. It was invented, well, I think Dan, put it all together nicely in his book, More Equal Animals. The pieces came from other places. Like surely it's not like Dan invented all of this. This is stuff that sort of has been there, but just not consolidated and condensed as well as he did in his book. But this is something that I wish more EOS folks would be more recognizing this kind of trendsetter opportunity we have, where if we do get Eden and this actual legitimate democratic election to have governance and influence within the chain, no other chain has that. That's something that could be spoken to, and I think give us a reason to create some hype that no other chain has, and draw in more community members who want to participate and have a voice that's actually tangible and meaningful without being a whale. Because right now that's the only way you really have a voice, right? Is you have to be a whale.
Right. That's true. And that's why, like I said, despite its current like shortcomings, let's say, I'm still like really excited for the future of it. And yeah, it does give a voice, because one regrettable thing that's happened in crypto is it was supposed to be, a thing where like the little guy and the big guy were on like even playing field. And well, over the years, what's happened is the same thing that's happened with the US dollar, is like, the wealth and the power is just concentrated in, the hands of a few. And so, yeah, what this really does is it allows, the little guy, like, it could be like, I could go on there and get funding, but, there could be some guy that like nobody's ever heard of, but he has a great idea to make the, to benefit the EOS ecosystem. And, he could go on there and, you know, just present his idea, and there's a pathway for him to, you know, for him to be heard and for him to have some influence. So that's what I see the potential in. It's just, you know, there's also potential for like 6 guys with really good ideas to all, like, you know, meet on in the first round too. So, you know, we have to kind of,
Is the nature of the
so
beast.
it's not perfect, but like it's
Elections are every 3 months now too. So at least there's
I did notice that, because I was when I did hear what you said, which was like the next one's in July. So I was like, oh, okay, that's coming up sooner than I expected. So okay, yeah, I'll be there for sure, whether as a voter or like a participant. So yeah, I'll be there and
Good.
look forward to it. Yeah,
we're showing up.
Being recruited.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're getting on. We're about an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know if any closing questions or comments. Anything you want to? Anything we should follow? So in terms of following yourself, Dunker, you've got your active YouTube is your big. You got a lot of followers. You got like over 4,000 subscribers, which is, you know, congratulations. You've done really well with your channel. Any other place people should follow you? Are you active on Twitter at all or anything like that?
Yeah, so Twitter, my YouTube channel, and yeah, that's about it. I keep it pretty simple there too, like with my TA. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Brilliant.
cool. So yeah, it was great talking to everyone. Really look forward to it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Excited.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Stay tuned. We do these each and every week and bring in great guests to interview, just like CryptoDunker here today. So follow us, and we'll be coming out. We're doing the top 5 EOSIO moments again each and every week. We do top 5 moments. So if you want to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in EOSIO, follow us for those videos. And yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you
See you
guys.
next week.
Thanks, everyone. See you, Dunker.
Yeah.